Oh hi. Bangalore, the large city and the administrative center in the south of India, located on the plateau de Deen in the southeast part of the state of Karnataka, which capital it is. On population, the third largest settlement and the fifth agglomeration of India. It is one of the most dynamically developing cities of Asia, the scientific and industrial center, largest in the country, which is turning out products of mechanical engineering, electronics, the space industry, the telecommunication equipment and defense industry. Besides, Bangalore is often called by the Indian Silicon Valley for a large number of the companies connected with information technologies. Here too there are a University, Institute of Sciences of India and National Laboratory of Aeronautics. Considering an escalating economic role of Bangalore in the world, CNN in 2007 designated this city as one of the most attractive places for business in third world countries. The local vassal and the head of the small settlement Alakanka. 9 Prigarad Bangalore. Kempudu Iron, which in 1537 constructed clay fortress on this place and which announced her province of the Vijayanagara Empire, is considered the founder of modern Bangalore. His successor Kempegowda II established 4 waters on settlement perimeter, thereby having designated his borders. At the time of the British Dominion, the city quickly grew and became the center of colonial board in the south of India. Construction contributed to development of the city of the British military camp in 1806, which attracted a large number of immigrants from all corners of the country here. After declaration of independence of India in 1947, the Principality Mysore, in the territory of which the city was located, was transformed to the state, and Bangalore received the status of his capital. In 1973, the state Mysore was renamed into Karnataka. Today it is the fast-growing city with a set of the highest educational institutions and research institutes. On literacy level, Bangalore takes the second place in India. The local speaking language of Kannada of Anadrevan call this place to Bangalore. And the city received the name Bangalore at the time of the British board, thus the English colonists modified it after their own fashion. Often connect a beautiful legend of boiled beans with a city name and village. Uru. In total, this phrase conformably to Bangalore. According to this legend, the governor Hoysala Veerabalala II, 1173-1220, but lost in the local forest and in search of an exit, accidentally came across the lonely hut. The hostess of the house, the elderly woman, as an entertainment could offer the governor only boiled beans and water. In gratitude about hospitality of the old woman, the governor decided to call this place the village of boiled beans, Bengaluru. Other theory connects this word with the name of a tree of the cinema of Malabarskia, Pterocarpus marsupium, on a local dialect sounding as Vainske, Vankai. In fact, the name of the city is more ancient than times of government of Veerabalala II, at least for several centuries. The early mention which is most reached out of time belongs to the 9th century, the hollowed inscription on the heroic stone. In the Indian culture, a monument in honor of heroically died soldier, found in the temple of the settlement of Begar near the city, mentions fight in 890 in the town under the name Bengaluru. The inscription made on the old version of language of Kannada says that the town of Bangalore, or the city of policemen, till 1004 was a part of the kingdom of Ganges. The Hindu newspaper, largest in the region, comments on this find as follows. The inscription carrying us by 890 proves that the age to Bangalore is more 1000. However, it remains in the started state in the temple Parvati Nageshwara in Bangalore near the city. Epigraphica made on the old version of language of Kannada in the 9th century mentions Fight Bangalore in whom Putanaketi, the servant Nagata, died. Despite the fact that the historian R. Narasimkar in the collection Epigraphia of Karnataka reported about this inscription. Nothing was made to keep it. On December 11, 2005, the government of the state of Karnataka declared renaming of the city from Bangalore in Bangalore according to historical sounding, thus having responded to the similar proposal of the Indian writer and winner of the Don's Pick Literary Award U.R. Inanayurti. On September 27, 2006, the Maharaja of Brahav Bangalore Mahanagar Palike signed the resolution on change of the name, and the government of the state approved it. It was supposed that official renaming will take place on November 1, 2006, however so far this process is suspended before final confirmation of the Ministry of Internal Affairs of India. In the ancient time, the territory in which modern Bangalore is located often got under influence of various cultures professing Hinduism, Islam that, of course, was reflected in cultural heritage of the people inhabiting this city. Within several centuries the area was under the power of the Western dynasty of Ganges. 350–1000 years AD. Until in 1024 she was captured by the Tamil dynasty of Chal. In 1116 the governor of the Empire of Hoysala Balala II broke Chal's troops in fight at Talakota, and the states of Karnataka passed under his board. The history of the modern city begins in 1537 when the vassal of the empire Vidyanagar Kempgowda I constructed the clay fortress and Nandi's temple here, having called this place to Ipkumagand, the earth of heroes. In fortress the city was divided into several small quarters called. There were two main streets, one of which Chikapiyogyo Chikapit Street was stretched from the east on the west, and the second Dadapiyogyo from the north on the south. On their crossing Dadapiyogyo Square, heart of modern Bangalore was created. The successor of the founder Kempegowda II established 4 waters around fortress, having designated borders of the city. In the period of Bodh Vidyanagar the city was also known under names Tavariyaragara and Kalyanapura. Kalyanapura, the prospering city. After falling of the empire the city several times passed from hand to hand. In 1638 the big army of a Muslim Sultanate Bidjapur under leadership of the Khan Ranadullah and with assistance of Shakshib Khanzal crushed troops camp of Buddha of 3, and Shakshi received the city in temporary possession as a daga. The form of feudal possession connected with execution of military service. In 1687 the general of Mughals of Qasim Khan broke army of the son Shakshi Koji and sold Bangalore to the Tsar of the Mazursky dynasty Shikadevaratsvadir. 1673–1704 for 300,000 rupees. In 1759, after the death of other governor of a dynasty, Krishnaraji Vadir II, The commander-in-chief of Mazarski army Haidar Ali declared himself the governor of the territory, having founded the independent state Hudadad on this place. After death, Haidar of Ali Khan, the power over the kingdom passed to his son, Type Sultan, nicknamed the Tiger of Mysore. In 1799, during the Fourth Anglo Wars, Type Sultanate was killed, and the British who seized power restored a former Hindu dynasty, having formally delegated the power to 5-year-old Mamadi Krishnarajavadi III. Having lost independence, the state received the status of the native principality as a part of the British Empire, though legally the power remained behind the Hindu monarchy. In Bangalore, administrative control passed to the Maharaja of Mysore, and under control of British there was only a military camp created in the territory of the city. Since 1799 the official British residence in the principality is the city of Mysore, and since 1804 Bangalore. In 1843 Bangalore loses this status, however gets him in 1881 again and keeps up to Declaration of Independence of India in 1947. These years the British for work in the camp preferred to employ official employees in the neighbouring district Madras, but not from locals. In 1831 the capital of the principality moves from Mysore to Bangalore. In days of the British board quickly grows. Along with construction of the camp, it is promoted by establishment of telegraph and construction of the railroad which connected Bangalore to Madras. In the 19th century Bangalore is in essence divided into two educations independent from each other, consisting mainly of representatives of the people of Ekana, and the military camp in which Tamils live. In 1898 the city endures epidemic of bubonic plague, as a result of which the population was strongly reduced. During epidemic people began to move to the outskirts of the city, trying to be saved from a disease. Thus there were two new areas, Malleshwara, English Malleshwara, in the north, and Basavanagudi, English Basavanagudi, in the south. For coordination of necessary medical care, telephone communication was carried out to Bangalore and the medical official is appointed. In 1906, upon termination of construction of hydroelectric power station in the small town of Shivanasadra, Bangalore installs to the first of the Indian cities at himself electrical equipment. Slava Bangalore as Garden City originates in 1927 when there took place celebrations on the occasion of the 25th anniversary of Lord Krishna Rajavadi IV. To decorate the city, on the occasion of anniversary new parks were opened, municipal buildings and hospitals are built. After finding of independence in August 1947 Bangalore remained as a part of again educated state Mysore, and the Maharaja of Mysore, whose title began to be called Rajpramukh, received a position of his governor. In the city educational institutions began to open and to be formed, occasional municipal jobs, therefore the residents of the state carrying themselves to Ekana began to move to the city. The population began to grow in high gear, especially during the period since 1941 on 1951 and from 1971 to 1981. By 1961 Bangalore became the sixth in density of population city of India, and his population made 1207,000 people. In the next decades the industry of the city continues to develop. In it the plants of such large private companies as Motor Industries Company are under construction. MECO, office of the German automobile giant Robert Bosch GmbH. In the 1980th, the 1990th years, Bangalore endures a construction boom during which large grounds and a bungalow of times of colonial border built up with multi-storied residential buildings. In 1985, one of the largest producers of electronics, the Texas Instruments Company, became the first multinational corporation which opened the office in Bangalore. At the end of the 20th century in the city, a large number of computer firms opened thanks to what it began to be called often Silicon Valley of India. The city of Bangalore is in the south of India, on the plateau the Deen at the height about 920 m above sea level. Administratively treats the state of Karnataka and is his capital. Coordinates of the city 12 97 sowing. Latitudes and 77 56. Longitudes, the area are 741 km. The most part of the city is located in the area Bangalore urban. Rural vicinities in the area Bangalore rural. For the government of the state, the certain territory on the earth Bangalore rural was allocated. Now it is the region of Ramanagaram. Topographical Bangalore is located out of the blue, except for the small ridge passing through the central quarters in the direction from the north on the south. The highest point, 962 m above sea level, is in the settlement of Tadabetakali, in a northern part of Bangalore. Within the city there are no large reservoirs, however in 60 km to the north from it in hills Nandi originate the Arkavati River and Panar River. The small Vrishakavati River, Arkavati's inflow, flows in Bangalore. Through it and further through Arkavati there passes the most part of sewage of the city. The sewer system of the city, constructed in 1922, covers the area of 215 km. Also it is connected to 5 stations of cleaning located on the periphery. In the 16th century, the founder of the city of Kempegowda dug several ponds to provide the population with water. One of the most known such ponds, which remained till our time and at the beginning of the 21st century undergone considerable reconstruction, is the Lake Kempembattikar. In the first half of the 20th century, according to the order of Sir Mirza Ismail, a Sofa Minister of Mysore, 1926-1941. The waterworks supplying the city with water from hills Nandi were constructed. Today need of the city for drinking water for 80% is filled at the expense of the Kaveri River, and the remaining 20% undertake from the reservoirs Tipagonakali and Hasaraghatta, constructed on the Arkavati River. Bangalore consumes 800 million litres of water a day, more than any other Indian city. Despite the developed water system, the city from time to time faces the shortage of drinking water, especially in droughty summer months. The random sampling of tests of air which is carried out in 2005 in 20 points showed that the index of air pollution IQ varies ranging from 76 up to 314. That speaks about serious environmental pollution in places of concentration of the motor transport. In the territory of the city there are several lakes and tanks, the largest of which Madivala tanks and the Sledge, the lakes Hebel and Ulcer. In oozy and sandy layers of river deposits there pass groundwaters. The main rock in the region, a migmatic granite complex, are the orthogneis consisting of granite, the migmatite and gneiss. The structure of the soil includes a red laterite, clay and red small loam. City vegetation mostly consists of the high trees forming a dense canopy of foliage and to a lesser extent coconut palms. In the city there are earthquakes with a force up to 4.5 balls on the Richter scale, though Bangalore treats the second, stable seismic zone. Thanks to the geographical location on the height, Bangalore differs in extremely soft climate during the whole year, though in summer months there are rather hot days. The most cool month, January, with an average temperature of plus 21.6 C, the hottest April, plus 27. The most high temperature of plus 42.0 C was registered in April, 1974, the lowest plus 10.0 C in January, 1992. Winter temperatures very seldom fall below plus 12 C, whereas summer in exceptional cases exceed plus 36, 37 C. Loss of rainfall is regulated by seasonal monsoons, blowing as from the ocean on the continent in the northeast direction, and in the opposite direction. The most rainy months August, September and October. In hot months quite often there are thunderstorms, sometimes causing interruptions in supply of electricity and floods. The biggest daily loss of rainfall minus 179 was noted on October 1, 1997. With the population in 5 million people. 2011. Bangalore are the third largest city of India and the 18th in the world. Bangalore was the most quickly growing city of India, after New Delhi. In an interval from 1991 to 2001, with annual growth rate in 38% a decade. According to a population census of 1991, the main languages of the city were Kannada, 38.38%, Tamil, 21.38%, Telugu, 16.66%, Urdu, 12.65%, Malayalam, 2.99%, Hindi, 2.64%. The cosmopolitanicness of the city is result of population shift from other states. However, in recent years it resulted in social tension between indigenous people and migrants. English is also widely usable. According to a population census of 2001 of 79.4% of the population of Bangalore were Hindus, Muslims makes 13.4% of the population, Christians and Jains minus 5.8% and 1.1% respectively. Literacy level minus 89%. About 10% of the population live in slums. Rather low share in comparison in other large cities of the developing world, such as Mumbai, 50%, and Nairobi, 60%. The civil power in Bangalore is represented by municipality, the called Brukat Bengaluru Mahanagarpalike. It was created in 2007 as a result of association of 100 administrative regions former Bangalore Mahanagarpalike. Besides the city, this public authority also subordinated to itself 8 neighboring city councils and 110 villages. The legislature, the city council, consists of the deputies called members of corporation, and elected on national vote for a period of 5 years. The parliament consists of about 150 places, on one from each administrative region of the city. Positions of the mayor and the chairman of the city council also are elective. Economy. One of the largest malls of Bangalore, Garuda Mall. Since 1996 in Bangalore, every 2 years the International Exhibition of the Aircraft Equipment is held. She is organized by the Ministry of Defence and the Air Force of India. Bangalore is rich in sights. One of main, the Bangalore Palace by right is considered. Construction of the palace was begun in 1862 and ended in 1944. In 1884 the palace was bought by the Maharaja of Mysore, Chamaraj Vadiyaram. At present is owned by descendants of the royal family. The fact that the Bangalore Palace is the Umanshini copy of the better-known Windsor Castle is remarkable. Other known site of the city is the summer palace of the Sultan Tipu. This majestic Islamic construction, constructed in 1781, is the copy of the Palace of Darius, Daulat in Srirangapatama. The Sultan called the palace precisely of Rashi Janat, that in translation, the envy of heaven, means. The building of the Supreme Court or Tarakacheri. 18 offices in translation from Hindi. A monument of Gothic architecture is built in 1864. This two-storied red building decorated with the Corinthian columns brightly contrasts with the snow-white Vidhana Sabha. Legislative Assembly of the State. Standing opposite. At the beginning of the old years in English to Bangalore neologism. Would value dismissed specialists and transfer their functions to firm outsourcer from India for economy on compensation as reaction to prevalence of this similar phenomenon in the Western countries appeared. Also far. Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.